Well, we are back with another episode of the group chat, and we are again lucky enough to be sat down with a very special individual today. I'd definitely say. I think you've got a lot of experiences that I'm hoping that.
Oh, thanks.
Not you.
Oh, go on.
No, in our guest, Marcel, not just obviously myself.
Okay.
I know you've got loads of experiences, but just in terms of how well travelled our guest is this week, he goes by the name of Miguel. Some people might know him as Nomad Barber. How you doing, fella? You okay?
I'm doing good, yeah.
Good. Just come straight from work and headed over. Yeah, man. Good. Well, thank you for coming in and sitting down with us. I just wanted to kind of kick things off. I know you guys were just talking about some gym tales there, but I just wanted to ask you a quick kind of kick-off question this week.
Go on.
Well, just out of interest, it's not as in detail as the last couple, but really, if you had to lose one of any of your senses, which one would you lose and why?
Ooh.
Haha.
That's rough, that, you know.
Yeah, it's not. I know which one I'd lose, but I'll let you go first. He's trying to find a way to work a pun into this, isn't he? I can see his brain ticking over.
I think it. So, right, is it a strict question? Like you can use like parking sensors?
Well, no, because I was going to say at one point common sense, because I feel like a lot of people have lost that in the last 18 months anyway. But no, if it was one of the senses that you're typically born with, so there's meant to be 5 of them, isn't there? Or six sense or whatever.
It'd have to be smell.
Smell, yeah. Why smell?
If you couldn't smell, you also couldn't taste.
No, they're not intrinsically linked.
That's another.
Anytime you've got a cold, you lose your. If you lose your.
Yeah, but it's technically a different sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but.
So don't want to be blind, deaf.
No.
I don't want to be able to eat and taste. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be smell. I'll just smell with me taste.
I could go horribly wrong. I'm saying no more. Yeah, I'm saying no more, but I'm going to agree with you.
Yeah, mine would have been taste, to be fair. Only because I feel like if I lost my sense of taste, I would then be able to eat a lot more food that I ordinarily wouldn't, because I don't like the taste of them. So you could probably just put
for the sake of
No, but you could put a plate of food in front of me and all the stuff that I typically would just leave out or not try, I'd now be like, well, if I'm starving, I may as well just eat it because it doesn't matter anyway. And to be fair, if I lost my sense of taste after a certain period of time, chances are I remember what chicken would taste like or what a steak would taste like. Or
Have you had COVID though?
No.
Every single person who's had COVID who's told me they lost the taste said it's the worst thing ever.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because like you wake up in the morning, you fancy a nice cup of coffee, you go to drink it and it just tastes like warm water.
Well, this is like my diet. Is that what we're living?
Just tasteless now, but I just think for me it'd probably be the easiest one to, and if I could still smell the food as well, and be like, oh, that smells nice, it kind of be like, not like I've lost out too much.
Believe me, like you don't, nah.
I just because
I'd rather taste the food and smell the food.
So I think you've lost your common sense as well.
Nah, I'm definitely sticking with that. Or just because I'm a fussy eater, I don't eat enough vegetables, I don't eat enough like mixtures of foods. And
that can be trained though.
I'm dirty this year.
That's just called being a
Look at
fucking
Pete.
child.
Pete. Pete. He did, like our mate, my mutual friend. He did not eat any veg before he started training to lose weight and get big.
He's smashing it now.
He's smashing it,
Like
and he's converted to like eat all kinds of veg, everything. He was the type of guy that he'd get a burger and like he'd pull it apart to look what was on it.
That's you.
That's me. I am literally that guy. And if it comes in a particular way that I didn't order it, I am sending it back, or I'm just not eating it straight up.
I find that's quite a common thing in like people I know from Liverpool who are fussy eaters, because I don't know if it's just because we were brought up in like
microwave meals,
working class chippy dinners, and then we're just like, what's that? Green.
Yeah.
What?
No, do you know what? I've stopped doing that. If I get a burger, I will order it as it is, because it's really not that hard to go right. I take the tomato off, and I take the gherkin off, but everything else, it's just.
I don't like things that can like run onto the fact that the chicken's meant to come like a fried piece of chicken on a burger. It's not meant to be like wet with all fucking.
You're selling yourself short of so many good food experiences.
I probably am, which is why I'm like, if I had no taste buds and I couldn't taste it, I'd eat anything and everything. Just put it in front of me and I'll scan it.
Is it a burger or a chicken sandwich then?
Oh.
It's got to be beef if it's a burger. I agree with that. Like that way of thinking.
Why?
This is like when people say, "Oh, halloumi burger," like it's a cheese sandwich. It's not a halloumi burger.
So
like
what
that.
makes so? I thought if it was a burger,
for me,
that's
a burger is a beef burger. That's
you can't have a chicken burger.
It's more of a chicken sandwich.
But if it's on a burger bun...
It's definitely more of a chicken sandwich without the veg, that's my point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If you've got anything else on there, you just got...
It's just chicken and bread, it's on a burger.
It's probably not, but it'd be the type of burger that I'd have and enjoy to be. But again, I know my taste buds aren't for everybody. Everybody's different, so I think we'll leave it there. You know what I mean? But if you... Yeah, because I'm fed up with you pulling apart the fact that I'm a fussy eater.
I'm fed up with you pulling apart burgers. Just order the food and eat the food.
Maybe one day, but as I say, I think it's half a train thing and it's half you've just got to have like a blind taste test and just get on with it. But as I say, I'm just not prepared to do that.
There'll be veg you've not had that you'll enjoy.
Yeah, I started eating tender stems last year when you gave me that diet plan. I started eating tender stems and I hadn't had them for about 4 or 5 months the other day, and out of nowhere I just had a craving for a steak with some tender stem broccoli on it, and I made it the other day when
baby steps.
Literally, there is. Yeah. Sometimes you've got to do it in baby steps, but I literally I'll throw it on the grill or whatever as well, and just probably take all the goodness out of it once I've fried it, but it's there and it looks green on the plate. So it's more for the aesthetic, but it tastes alright. So yeah, I was just doing up some reading the last couple of days, and I've seen, just before we touch on some sort of traveling, that Liverpool's been voted as one of the top 10 friendliest cities in the world. And I just wanted to kind of pick both of your thoughts really on, do you agree in the first instance?
He's a good guy to ask because he's travelled a lot of the world. I just wanted to throw that out there.
And then the other question I was going to ask is, for you personally, what makes Liverpool so special?
I think definitely Liverpool is one of the most friendliest places I've been. I don't know, but then at the same time, there's also some horrors here. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. Let's just throw back to when I was training as a barber. I was young. I was working in Garston. No, I'm not slagging off Garston by any point. But I had long hair. I'm brown, and I was I'd walk through Garston Village, and every single person would look at me like they wanted to bat me. So
we can all relate.
That's a sign of the time. I don't even really want to go into that Garston story. I don't even know if you remember with Johnny Lutus in the cars.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
But that was just bad times. We'd literally go and make a tit of ourselves in Garston. We'd
not necessarily Garston, just anywhere. But yeah. I know what he's got.
Yeah, we jump out of the car and literally pronounce ourselves as we are the black people of the area and we are proud to be here. And just look and just watch people look and think, what the fuck are they up to? But no, for you, Marcel, would you agree with that statement that we are one of the friendliest cities that you?
We are when you catch us outside of Liverpool.
Okay.
You go anywhere in the world, one, you will find us closer, and two, they want to be your best mate.
Yeah.
When you catch people in Liverpool, most people want to snarl you. Them same people on a night out in Liverpool are probably side-eye you for looking at them the wrong way. But if you catch them elsewhere in the world, they'd be your best mate.
I think in a general sense, though, people from Liverpool have... I mean, I can only speak from the south end of Liverpool where I grew up, do you know what I mean? I think there is definitely a sense of community and people are very friendly. I lived down in London for 8 years and, you don't say hello to your neighbours or anything like that. Now, especially I've got older, I smiled at people on the street. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not saying that's a suit means you're super friendly or anything like that, but that doesn't happen everywhere.
Yeah. How do you smile at them? It's just we're passing it.
No, but do you think as well on top of that then is it more of a, so if you come from out of town and then you come into Liverpool, people that are from Liverpool are going to be friendly to you, or do you think it's more of a, when Scousers and you're from Liverpool, then it's probably not as friendly? But
I think we're charming.
Okay.
Charming in a working class kind of way.
Understand it. Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
We are pretty chilled out and relaxed. At the same time, very uptight.
Know how to have a laugh, but then at the same time, I feel people here are rude. So I'm going to go off when I've been to anywhere in America. You go in somewhere that you even if it's something basic, a Mackey's or a shop.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. How was your day? Just things like that. Can you imagine being an L1 going to the Mackey's and someone going, good morning, sir?
Good morning, lads.
Do you know what I mean?
But
have a good day.
They have corporate standards in their franchises where they're pushed to do it, and anyone in the service industry in the US knows that. I mean, I'm not talking about McDonald's, but tips are the main source of income. Yeah. So a lot of it is pushed on them, or it is fake as well.
Absolutely.
No, you can
That's
see
what I mean. I feel like we're
fake.
genuine with it.
It's
You know what I
fake,
mean?
yeah.
Like if a scouser goes out of the way for you, it's like a genuine thing. They're not just going to do it just out of a whim. It's because they genuinely want it.
I think there's two sides to it. Like first impression, scousers dead friendly. Like if you're coming out of town, especially, people are friendly, helpful, this, that. But also on the flip side, scousers can escalate things really fast.
0 to 100.
You can get in a fight really quickly. Do you know what I mean? And we tend to have this thing where we go
high pitched voice.
Yeah, I know. That's like we're only one of the places I've ever seen that. And I do it with my family as well. It's just like a shouting contest after a point.
All right, then. So for you, if we can accept that it is one of the more friendlier places in the world, potentially, what makes it special for you? What is it about Liverpool over all some of the other places you've been in and around the world that like makes you think this is a special place to either grow up, be brought up, or visit?
I would say that the thing that I appreciate about Liverpool, especially now, is growing up in a multicultural kind of setting.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't necessarily always like happy-go-lucky. Do you know what I mean? I did like get some racism growing up, but in a general sense, I grew up around all different nationalities, and I appreciate that. I also grew up and I was a little bit streetwise, and I appreciate that when I travel as well, because I'm not daft.
Yeah, I think that's
that's a part of being from Liverpool.
Yeah, I think that's an underrated skill that we acquire when we are from Liverpool. That kind of nous that we get. I feel like, as much as I was saying before, people like generally don't have much common sense. I feel like that is we might not be, as you were saying before, we have that working class element, but I feel in terms of just common sense and not being like wet behind the ears, Liverpool is known for that. Do you know what I mean? We are quite streetwise.
You know if someone's looking at you or someone's following you or someone, anything like that, I can spot a mile off. If someone's trying to scam me, I know it. Like, especially when I'm traveling, I'm sitting down at a table and some daft idiot from another country I'm with. I'm not saying everyone's an idiot, but like they'll put like the laptop next to the chair in a cafe or something. I'm like, what are you doing?
It can be easily swiped.
That's never happened to me, but I know not to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think is that again probably just because you've been brought up in a city that's like you're on guard a little bit. You're like aware of your surroundings.
All sorts of shit growing up. Like I went through mad stuff. Like, and my parents probably don't know the half of it. Like fights and getting chases and just doing daft idiots, the most stupid stuff.
That's a period of time, that isn't it? From when you're like, I want to say 13 to 16, where you're grown up enough to be out and about in them situations, but you're not old enough to know better, and you do get yourself like, I look back now and I think, how was I in that situation? Why was I in that situation? And oh my God, if my mum knew I was in that situation.
If I knew my kids were doing some of the stuff that I did, I'd be devastated.
Yeah.
And especially like, you know, things have got a little bit rougher over the years as well, like more knife crime and stuff like that. Things go a little bit further. Had that been in that time, like I don't even know what would have happened. I might have been dead by now.
I'm glad we kind of grew up in that. I'm speaking for like me and Marcel. How old are you again, Miguel?
33.
So yeah, you're probably just a couple of years, same sort of generation as us, really. Like, glad we grew up in that generation where if you had a problem with someone, the answer to resolve it was fighting with your fists. As brutal as it might have been at the time, and like you didn't really want to just be fighting for the sake of fighting. It was, when you look back now and you realise how people are handling their disputes or their beefs nowadays, I'd take fighting with somebody and just settle it with a straightener over someone just stealing on you with either 5 of the mates or just them coming up behind you and just stabbing you and just getting off like a shit.
I feel like that was still a thing back then, but it would have been more of an isolated incident. Okay. So if you heard of a stabbing, it was like, oh my God. Such has happened up there, and people were speaking about it for a few weeks. Whereas now, as bad as this sounds, someone gets stabbed and like we've forgotten about it in a few days. Like someone else is being stabbed and we move on to that. I feel like it's so much more common as opposed to someone just having a fist fight.
Yeah.
You hear more people being stabbed than like kids having a straight in the park.
Well, yeah, that was the way you used to settle beef, just literally like, and we've all been there. We've all been pulled into altercations where you didn't really want to have to fight, but you've had to fight. Otherwise, there was no getting out of the situation. Do you know what I mean? It was either fight with one lad or get jumped by 6. Do you know what I mean? But no, just thinking about then the traveling aspect of things and kind of opening your eyes. How old was you when you first kind of just picked up a rucksack and decided to just go on a bit of travel. And where was your first travels?
So I was working in that shop in Garston, and the man who managed the shop at the time had been away to Australia for a year, and then the lad who came to work in the shop had also been to Australia, and I was like, what, have these people gone traveling? Because growing up in a working class environment, you don't think about I can go traveling. At least I'm not at that point in my life. I was not like, I'm gonna go traveling because this is something I can do. I thought I have to go get a job, I have to go get a house, and I can't do much else after that. So I was questioning them constantly. I was like, how did you do it? And they're like, well, I just got the visa and bought a plane ticket. And I'm like, it's not that easy. It can't be that easy. And they were like, no, it's pretty much that's it. So I was like, all right. So about a month later, I booked my first flight. I went to Chile, where my dad's from. I lived there for 6 months with my family. Came back, ended up staying here for 2 months, did cut hair in another barbershop, and then I ended up going to do Camp America, where you work in the summer camps over there.
Yeah, man.
Somehow I was an archery instructor.
How did you wrangle your way to be an archer?
This is the thing, like you do an application when you sign up for it, and you write down, there's like a list of sports this big, and it's like what you've done, where you're an expert at, and then all the way down there you check on like what you've like seen on the telly. And archery was like the only one that I'd just seen like on the telly.
Lord of the Rings.
And they picked me to teach it. Yeah.
So what camp was you in?
I was in a summer camp in Maine.
Maine,
all
so
boys.
that's up north then, isn't it?
North, and then New England. It was just random, all boys summer camp, predominantly Jewish, like rich kids.
Yeah.
One of what's his name? What Arnold Schwarzenegger's sons used to go there.
Oh no way.
So I was like quite wealthy.
That was my first experience of picking up a bag and kind of just going abroad, just because I went to Camp America when I was 18 as well. Yeah. I ended up going to Kentucky. Again, it was like a random thing, a similar sort of process in terms of the application. I've applied, said all the things to my skills, what I was good at. I ended up going to underprivileged kids camp. So it was a Canadian owned company that had one of their camps in America. So it was the only camp that they had in America, and it was in Kentucky. And essentially what they did was just like ship in a load of kids from Canada that were underprivileged, obviously like low income families. Yeah. And for me personally, that was like obviously you got to do a little bit of traveling, but I think it was more of the fact that I was with kids that had less than I even had growing up that made me appreciate a lot of the qualities that were like kind of instilled in me from a young age. Do you know what I mean? It kind of opened my eyes to the fact that like, wow, you know, you can do pretty much whatever you want to set your mind to if you just kind of give it a go. Yeah. There's no harm in failing or like falling down sometimes, because literally these kids are down and out. And like some of the stories you heard, I remember, you know, one kid, and I won't speak too much on his personal circumstance, but it basically his dad left him with something that was going to be like stuck with him for the rest of his life, and it's, you know, disgusting what he had done, but he had been left with him for the rest of his life. And this kid's only 12 years of age, not knowing what kind of challenges that it was going to have in terms of his relationships with girls or his relationship with boys further down the line. And it was just a case of this kid was the happiest kid, but he was just oblivious and naive to what in the next 4 or 5 years is going to be such a hard conversation that you have with anyone, or explaining, or just literally it could be the thing that like puts you back within yourself. Do you know what I mean? Because you're just like, I'm not going to end up with anybody, I'm not going to settle with anyone, who's going to want me while I'm like this? And I just felt really sorry for him. But like little situations like that, man, and you build a bond with some of the kids that you work with. I don't know if it was the same for you with them being really rich and uppity, but you do kind of build that bond with them. I do feel like obviously completely different types of camps and experiences, but I feel like there's trauma throughout every kind of upbringing, every kind of like wealth background. A lot of these kids were rich. If you're rich, and exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Like a lot of these kids were rich, but they were raised by nannies. You know, but being sent off to them camps to, you know, keep them out the way for the summer. That's exactly what they do. Yeah. Some of the kids would do the half the term, so they do like the 4 weeks, and then some kids would do like up to like 10, 12 weeks. And there was like one, I remember it was only like most of the kids between like 10 and 17 or whatever, but then there was these two kids, one was like 6 and one was 7, and the mum was like some famous Puerto Rican actress, and she just shipped them off there for 12 weeks, and I was like, what? That's sick, that's mad, that, isn't it? Yeah, just like, so obviously they got in because they
pay. I don't know if they paid extra or whatever.
Money talks.
Yeah, definitely. So for you then, what was that overall experience like? Did you do any traveling after the camp, or did you stay around, or what?
Yeah, I did like the
Was you
East
the only
Coast.
Brit as well, or was there a couple of?
No, there was like quite a mixed bag of people. A lot of Southern Brits.
Yeah, okay.
Not a lot of people from like Liverpool travel that much. I mean, maybe they do now, but back then I didn't find that I'd meet many Scousers on the road, unless it was on holidays. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, like most people were like New Zealanders or Australians, so that like opened up a whole new door of culture for me. Even though like the cultures are kind of similar, like generally like British. Couple of hundred years back. So that opened the door for me because I ended up going to Australia 3 months after that for a year because I met an Australian guy and he was like, come see me. And I was like, yeah, cool. I went and stayed with his family for like a month, ended up in a relationship with his sister.
Moral of the story. Going about Nomad to your house.
Yeah. Family dinners were awkward after that. They used to do a family dinner every Thursday and yeah. Anyway. So I did that for a year and then honestly, like I moved back home and I was just like, so that finished, all that part was finished. Moved home, moved to London, and then it was a few years until I'd go traveling again. Yeah. And that's when I came up with the idea for the web series and the YouTube channel and stuff.
Sick. Well, again, I was going to just ask you, because I know in terms of your experience, it's more travel based and going around like either short stays or long term stays. You're more of a holiday man.
I'm a city break man.
Okay, yeah.
You're in New York, man. That's the only place you go.
I've done a fair few city breaks. Come on, lad.
No, but what do you find?
The world doesn't count.
Oh, this guy.
No, but what do you find in terms of when you go to like city breaks and stuff like that? Do you even like pick up little bits yourself on those short breaks?
In terms of what, like people's just
experiences and just like cultures and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, yeah, the New York one, I've never seen such a divide or such a, each opposite ends of the scale between rich and poor.
Yeah, okay. Smart.
So you will have buildings that literally billionaires are stepping out of, and they are borderline stepping over homeless people in the street who were there begging with a cardboard sign. And that divide, that's mad. How can that just go on day to day? And I believe that, each person at each end of that scale can not very easily, but I mean, just like that, could end up
the
at the other end. Do you know what I mean? You have rich people who have everything invested into business folds when you see these bankers, and they can very quickly end up homeless. And at the same time, someone homeless, the way things are there, you could have a look about you and you could be picked for a film. Or, you do hear of these things have happened before, or you could just have like your lucky break, right place, right time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's a mad thing,
Corporate divide, corporate America.
Yeah.
This is America.
It is.
It's true though, like
it opens your eyes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, massively.
I feel, yeah. And we have the divide between rich and poor here, but it's another level there.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The contrast changes wherever you go, but it is always there.
Yeah,
that's the sad part.
Another thing as well. We'll stay on the New York thing. That's all I do. But no, I find more than anywhere else I've ever been, it's live and let live.
Okay.
So you do something over there that's a little bit out there. It could be you style your hair a little bit differently, and someone will be quick to comment on it. Fucking hell, get on him. Like, people take the piss very easily over here. But over there, do you know, if you want to dye your hair every colour of the rainbow and wear like a polka dot suit, you run free, you enjoy that polka dot and turn up to an office job and no one about an eyelid.
Okay.
You can do what you want, be however you want to be, and nobody cares. It's just like, do you. And it's very accepting of all kinds of people, but I feel like people really do take advantage of that and they're just out there living the best life.
Sick. So what kind of, again, all right then, so this is another, like, not like a throwback, but if you was to think back before, for yourself, Miguel, before you ever went travelling, you said that, the archery was one thing that you ended up doing it at camp, and that was one, like, a skill you probably acquired along the way. What skills did you have before you ever started travelling that you've kind of level upped on now, years later? And the same for you, Marcel. What skills did you have, thinking of raw skills did you have at 17 before we even went to Jamaica or anywhere like that, and now that you've leveled up on and you think, that's been a
Thanks to travelling.
Well, not necessarily thanks to travelling, but that's just been a whole progression over the years that you've been able to utilise for yourself.
I would say I've always been creative, so that's allowed me to then open businesses. Post traveling, so I started like building the brand within my head from the journey. The first one I did 21 countries in like a year. Went and filmed barbershops everywhere. So creativity and having that risk factor. I was always trying to make a little bit of money here and there. Hustle. So like selling sweets in school and stuff as much as I could.
Go down to home and bargains. Go down home and bargains, just raid it.
Facilitating other purchases for other people as well in certain products, which not actually doing it myself. But I think I've always had like that business mind and creativity and being able to I guess chat to people and get to know them quite well. And I think and just having a good smile, like a friendly smile. Do you know what I mean? Because that helps when you're traveling. It really does. Like if you're willing to just take the time to speak to someone and be polite and offer as something as little as a smile, it goes a long way. And
what was the thinking behind the series then, the barbershop series? What was like the kind of...
So when I was 26 at the time, and I was like, all right, I'm getting a bit bored of barbering. Not bored of barbering, but like just bored of the 9 to 5 aspect of it. So I was working like a high-end place in London. We were charging like 50, 60 quid for a haircut. And I was like, all right, what do I want to do? So I didn't want to disappear from the industry because I started to get in some of like the hair magazines and stuff like that. Even though they were only little things like, giving advice about trends or whatever, which you just generally make up anyway. You just kind of, nobody knows what they are. But you basically...
Inside the secrets.
So I was actually sitting, I come back to Liverpool for a weekend and I was sitting with my friend in a coffee shop. I think it's called, I don't even know what it's called now. It's on the end. I used to live on Barrington Road on Smithdown. And we're sitting in a coffee shop there and I was like, I need to go travelling again. We should go travelling. So he's like, oh yeah, cool, that'd be cool, yeah. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I went around the world and I took haircuts for like a blog post and took haircuts in like cool places, like on cliffs, on beaches and stuff? And he was like, yeah. So in my head, this idea started to build, and then in the end, it became a thing where I was going to go to barbershops and interview barbers about the barber culture in their countries all around the world. So it literally just snowballed into this like web series idea, and then within 9-10 months I was going, and I had like corporate backing. I got like 25 grand off a company, a clipper company in America. I put it on Kickstarter and did some crowdfunding, got 5 grand off that. I ended up maxing out like 3 credit cards as well. But I was literally traveling for a year. Ended up taking a cameraman. We took 2 Canon 5D Mark IIs and just winged it, living off $20 a day. And then by the time I got back, I had like 50,000-60,000 followers on Instagram, which was decent back then. And I mean, it's decent now. I'm not saying I'm like a dickhead way. But like the YouTube channel had grown quite a bit as well. There was a lot of interest, and it was around the resurgence of the barbershop. Like the barbershop became cool again. A lot of people wanted to become a barber.
Do you remember the films Barbershop back in the day?
Yeah,
they were classics. You're looking at me as if,
I don't know, lads.
What, with Ice Cube
anytime someone says to me, have you seen, the answer's probably no, so let's just brush past the film questions. I was
Kofi's looking at me as if, how have you not? That's like a proper...
I was enjoying the story. Carry on, lad.
Have you seen Friday? You've seen Friday.
I've seen one of the Fridays.
Seen Come to America?
Oh my God, one of.
I have to say,
this is why we can't do a film section.
If you've ever wondered every week, I don't watch many films.
Yeah, if you've ever wondered why don't they ever talk about films or series, this is because this kid just chooses not to watch any films or any.
Have you
seen
Pumping Iron?
I've got a copy of it. I've not even watched that either.
Oh my God.
I've had a copy for you. I've seen bits of it. I've got no attention span for this sort of thing.
It's okay. You
don't have to justify yourself.
Come on,
we'll ask you about your skills. What skills did you have before you started getting into...
Are you going to cut them down? So I was enjoying this.
Okay, I'll carry on. I'll finish the story.
Thank you.
So, what was I saying? So I was traveling. Oh yeah, so I got back and then I ended up
The barbershop was cool again.
The barbershop was cool again. I ended up moving back to London. I got like I went down back to London with like another credit card and like £400 in my bank, and I was like, well, what am I gonna do? Like, so I rented this room. Room rents in London are insane. I ended up buying a couple of barber chairs on finance and moving into this like vintage market in Brick Lane in Shoreditch, and I'd work there Saturday, Sundays, and because the web series got quite big, I was getting booked up for like this weekend. So like 5-6 months went by. I ended up opening my first barbershop just around the corner on Brick Lane. We did it like just winged it. Like me and another barber called Liam, he came and helped me. I wasn't even paying him at this point. We built it ourselves, and then a year and a half later, I ended up opening the shop in Berlin. So I've had that for 4 or 5 years now. And then we ended up relocating the London store down the road to a bigger shop. So it was all going great until COVID.
Yeah, we don't
That's every story that now, you know, like,
ends with it was all going great until COVID. Yeah. All right, and then for you, Marcel, what would you say skill-wise have you managed to level up since kind of, again, those first kind of boys' holidays, travel and city breaks yourself?
The risk factor with things, I quite often have this attitude where I'll sit and think on something for a while, and then I've just learned to develop this thing of, you know what, don't think, just do.
You are spontaneous though. There's been times when you've just gone, I'm going to New York in 2 weeks, and I'm like, fair play.
Yeah, like... Me 10 years ago, I would not have done that, or I'd have put things off, because, like, as you said before, I feel like, no, you can't just up and do that. But then over time, I've done a few little random trips with kind of spare of the minute. I find it's a good attitude to have. I've never done one of them like spare of the moment things and regretted it.
Okay, that's good.
Even if it may not have been the best thing at the time, whether it may have involved money that wasn't necessarily guaranteed, or you know, a bit of a situation that you're getting yourself into that you're not really certain. I don't know anything like that. I've just kind of been like, you know what? What's his name?
LA.
I went to LA on 3 days notice. That was a bit of a mad one. That was literally.
Do you like it there? I've had 4 different experiences, and
my experience of it was good because I'd walked from a job. There's another example of it. I knew I wasn't happy in the job I was in, and I was like, right, I'm leaving at such a date. Didn't tell no one, just left. And then, long story short, I was kind of riding the high of I'd been in such a shit situation job-wise for so long. I had this newfound freedom. I'd competed, I'd done well with everything, and I was like, okay, what to do now? I got asked to go to LA, and I was like, usually someone would have said to me, look, on 2-3 days notice, especially a holiday like that, like, I'd probably be like, no, can't be done. But what had happened is I was buying and selling shoes and clothes. I'd made a lot of money. A sale had fell through, so I was left with money, basically burning a hole in my pocket. And I was like, no, do you know what? I'm going to go. I left my job to do this kind of thing, and I just applied for the visa to come to do it like that. And a few hours later, I was going to LA in 2 days' time.
Sick.
So, yeah.
And what was your experience? You've been to LA, I take it?
Yeah.
What was any sticky stories of LA, or?
No. I mean, well, none that I can get into. But, yeah, like every experience I've had has been different. The first time I went, I'd won a competition here, like a national hair competition.
Oh, sick.
And I got taken there as like the UK entry into the international one. So I went there, stayed in like, I can't remember what the hotel was, but it was near the Chateau Marmont. So like I saw about 10 celebrities in the space of like 3 days. But yeah, like it was really fake and cold in them places. Like, just everyone was all about the celebrity status and stuff like that. I went to a couple of after parties. God knows how I ended up at after parties, like just random people's, and they were just people were just rude. You know what I mean? But then the second time I went, yeah, it's very fake. But that was Beverly Hills. The second time I went, I stayed in downtown LA. Stayed in like this loft, like my friend's loft, but it's got like a photography studio. Had the most incredible time. And then the third time, I can't even remember what. Yeah, just had a good time again. It was just a different part of town again. So I think it's just one of them places. It just depends who you're with, where you stay.
Yeah.
And
it's a very big place, isn't it? So yeah, I get
massive.
that. It depends on who you were with. I was lucky with when I was there. It was literally, I was kind of thrown in at the deep end. So I got there and then I found out, I was with a group of people, and the first day that I was actually there, the day we're there, it's like on like a business trip. I basically piggybacked on the business trip and I was no part of the business. So I knew I was going to be on my own a fair bit. We get there, goes for breakfast. It's the first day we're there. It was like 7:30 in the morning. We sat in this little cafe and they were like, right, we're gone. See you later. And then for that brief, I was always like Home Alone where he sat there. He's like, my family are here and I'm in New York. I was just like, wow, I'm just sat in LA like a local because we were staying in an Airbnb. So it wasn't like we were in the city centre.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is mad. I'm just sat, just casually in LA, you know. I may as well go out and explore. So I went back to the room. It was me phone, had no data. I wasn't like rinsing to the door. I had to get on the Wi-Fi. I was screenshotting maps, like how to get to places and that, and then just getting out. And I thought, you know what? Fuck it, I'll see where I end up. Realised we were staying like 5 minutes away from. We were on Ocean Drive. We were like 5 minutes away from right on the water for Venice Beach.
Yeah. That's an interesting place.
I walked right to the front. I was like, this is mad. This looked familiar.
Did you feel at home?
I don't know. I was just happy. I was like, everyone I was working with didn't work right now. I was just kind of strolling along the beach. And then I found Muscle Beach. And then I realised Gold's Gym wasn't too far from there either. But the first day I was there, I get back to the room and I get a message off one of my mum's mates saying, this is really random. Are you in LA at the minute? My daughter said she's just seen you. So I'm thinking, okay, everywhere I go, I see someone, but nah, this takes the piss. And she's from over there. She moved over years back. Her daughter's from over there. She grew up over there, lives there. She was over visiting her daughter. And she was like, oh, where are you staying? I'll come and pick you up. I can show you everywhere. We can basically take you around in the car. So I got to see loads of things that on foot would never have happened.
You in the car in LA?
Yeah, that's it. Because I realised that I was walking for hours on end just to get like anywhere. But she came and took us everywhere and showed us. Like I went and done the Santa Monica steps.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, go on, finish.
No, but basically things that I wouldn't have known to have done because she's lived there.
She knew
so I got to see, and she took us around everywhere, and they really showed us all kinds that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to have done. Do
you find that like when you're travelling on holiday, the best thing to do is to just get lost for at least half a day? Spend half a day getting lost, just seeing things that you wouldn't have seen then.
Yeah. Well, how bad could it be?
A lot of the time when I'm traveling, it's to film stuff. So usually, like, say I'm landing somewhere, say I've got like a 10 days in one place, just an example. I'll spend the first day or day and a half just walking around, trying to find places to shoot or barbershops to go to. So I'll just walk around like a tourist would, but I'm obviously looking for like places to go and to film. So in that sense, I'm a
recce.
Yeah, I've got lost once. I'm pretty good with directions. You know, some like the cameraman I was with. I'm no word of a lie. We stayed in this one hostel in Hanoi in Vietnam, and you go out and left is to the main street, and then right is a dead end. You can quite clearly see it. Every day you'd walk out the hostel and turn right. And I'm like, what are you doing? That's not the way. We're not even down the road yet, and you're lost. So like, just generally, I can kind of find my bearings. So I don't ever feel that lost.
Okay, that's good.
I mean,
what happened when you did actually get lost?
I ended up here.
Like you said, you got lost. Or you
properly... Yeah, I think I just like one time. I can't even remember when it was. I just know one time I was like, I never get lost.
Did you panic?
Yeah, and because I think I was with someone and I was like, I never got lost. This is unlike me. And then, but then it was fine in the end because I'm still alive. So
to tell the tale.
Found your way back.
So have you ever had any like sticky situations, held up in customs?
Every time I go to America, I get taken into the back room. Guaranteed, I'm there for at least 2 or 3 hours. Random selection, just every time I go. So I got to the bottom of it, and the funny thing is, I like 95% of the times I've been to America, the immigration officer is Latin or like Mexican or whatever, so like they're always like Miguel Gutierrez, and then so I'm like talking to them with a little bit of Spanish. Yeah, but they're like, why are you here? And then they're like, all right, come to the back. So I'm sitting there in this room every time, and I'm just like, why are they checking me? They ask me all these questions.
Do you think you're a drug smuggler or something?
Miguel Gutierrez is like, it's like someone being called like John Smith. So basically, there's been the amount of like criminals with that name who's gone into America or escaped America. And I asked the one time I got like some nice people when I was going through Philadelphia airport. I was like, listen, can I just ask why I get stopped every time? And they were like, it's your name. they were really nice though. But anyway, so that's the heat. The worst situation I've been in is when we went from a place in Nepal, from Pokhara to Kathmandu. We went on this bus, it took like 7 hours, and this little fella started like just chatting to us on the bus. And the day after we got to Kathmandu, we were going to fly to Hong Kong. So we were just going there to catch a flight basically. So we got off this bus, cold minibus in the middle of nowhere. And this guy, he was like, oh, have you found somewhere to stay here? And we were like, oh no, we're just going to go to the main tourist area and find a hotel. And he was like, no, come with me. My friend's got a hostel just down the road. And we were like, okay. He seems like a decent guy. So we went with him to this, like, we went down a little back street and we walked into this whole like guest house hotel, and it was a shithole. Like, it was awful. We were like, what are we doing? We were like, all right, it's one night. What's the worst that can happen? Yeah. So we went up and like he gave us a drink or something, and we just sat there chatting for a bit, and then we were like, all right, yeah, good night, whatever. We woke up the next day and we're like getting packed and getting ready to go, and my mate's like, my laptop's not here. And we were like, did you sleep really well, or was that just me? And we were like, potentially. So this is the thing. So we worked out in our toilets there was a window that could open from another like hallway toilet. So someone had jumped in, grabbed the laptop, which like was insured, but we didn't get the police wouldn't give us a proper form for it, and we ended up like going down and kicking off because we were meant to leave in like half an hour, so we were like stressing out like what could we do. And they were like, oh, one of the young kids, because he had like some like 14-year-old helpers working there, like Nepalese from like villages, that like we saw one of them running off this morning and he just never came back. So it ended up being that one of the guys who spoke English came and kind of like sorted it out for us. And when I say sorted it out, he was like, stay, we'll extend your flights and we'll pay for your flights to be extended. We're really embarrassed this has happened. So we were like, okay, yeah, this guy's going to extend the flight or whatever. But it's a lie. So we took it to travel agents. And we called up the airline and we're like, yeah, he's paid for it. And it was like £250, which over there is quite a lot of money. Yeah. So we ended up staying there. And it turns out the people who ran this hostel were like local extortionists. So we were going around on the back of these motorbikes with these local like gang members. But we ended up staying there for like 5 days, didn't pay any more money to stay there. They made us food every day. And we still to this day don't know if they did it because they felt guilty and they robbed it, or they were just being genuine. But we'd go to these dance bars, they're called Bari bars over there, and they're like our equivalent of strip clubs, except no one gets naked. It's just girls dancing on stage and guys to like Bollywood songs. It's the most bizarre 5 days in my life. Most bizarre 5 days in my life I've ever been in. But like the fact that we're going around with these drunk gangsters on motorbikes, and he's like,
that's like
do you want to?
Well, if you would have known the film, it would have been called The Hangover. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
They were like, yeah, do you want to have a go on a motorbike? I was like, I don't know how to ride a motorbike. He was like, just have a go. So I'm running around these like little alleyways with these motorbikes. Oh, it's just the most bizarre thing ever. In the end, yeah, it was just weird.
That's living.
Yeah, that is 100%. Do you feel like having, as I say, not your typical Caucasian English background helps you while you're abroad, if that makes any sense?
I'm the most racially ambiguous person you'd ever meet. So I've been to Nepal. I had women in them Bari bars screaming at me saying, you're Nepalese, stop acting like you're British, you're Nepalese. India, everyone thought I was North Indian, like Kashmiri, because I've got like the eyes. Yeah. Most of Southeast Asia, people are like, you're half South, like half Asian.
Have you ever done one of those kind of DNA tests to see where?
Yeah. So I mean, I pretty much covered what I knew was. So I'm like 25% Native American.
Yeah.
I've got like 20% Asian, 25% Asian, a lot of Caucasian, about 3% African.
He's a brother. That's what I mean. Like, in terms of that, then it must indeed to the locals.
Me,
yeah,
100%.
I feel a little bit aggy sometimes when you go as like a full black man to certain places. Like I've been there. Like when I went to America, like because I was in the south of America at the time, they didn't realise, some of them were backwards, they didn't realise that like black people were in England, so they thought I was from either Canada, because obviously the camp was Canadian, so that was like the first guess, and then the second guess was Australia. They thought I was an Aborigine of some description, you know what I mean, which is mad to think. So like, but I do get that sometimes. I'm like traveling like to the places, and this is probably just my preconceptions of like the world without knowing the world really. Like people go, oh, you want to go to Krakow, or you want to go to Poland, you want to go here, and I'm just like, nah.
You can't blend in quite so well.
No, I don't. I still
Poland in particular, to be a lot of places.
Poland.
Come on, lad. No, when we were in Poland, we went to watch one of the fights in Poland a couple of years back, and the racism there was so overwhelming. You've kind of just got to
accept it.
We were in this is like the crowds were actually chanting. I forget now exactly what they, but you know, it was something nigger. But like, imagine, and one of the lads actually turned around and went, fucking what? And then realised it weren't like a group that you were shouting at.
20,000
It was
people.
the whole section. And I'm talking like maybe 500 people. And these people are known for rioting, and these people, the police, there was a big thing involved. Some of the fights got pulled because they were not happy that certain fighters were on that card. And the police basically didn't want any hassle, so they removed the fighters from the cards rather than confronting the trouble that would have been with these same people that were stood maybe 500 deep behind us chanting, and we had to just stand there. Like, it was so painful, just like turn around, like, I'm not gonna confront it, and just sit there knowing full well there's 500 people just burning a hole in the back of your head.
I would have prep people. I don't know how that would sit with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, on one off, and you know you're powerless to do anything, it'd be horrible. But at the same time, like, that's probably been, like, I've still been to quite a few places, but that's probably been the only like drawback of just being like, all right, I'll go to Eastern Europe and just like do city breaks all there and kind of like go on like a road trip or whatever, just because I just know it's only a matter of time before someone looks at me the wrong way, and they're looking at me the wrong way because they've got racial intentions. Do you know what I mean? So that's always a little bit of a thing that sticks in the back of my mind.
But I feel like sometimes if you go into a location blindly, if you don't have that fear. If you don't realise that people or people of a certain are racist, you just go about your business and people will look. Like, similar but different sorts of thing. I remember, again, being in New York, that's what I go to, but no.
You've been there?
Yeah, I've been once or twice. I passed through, but you know, I had a jersey on. I don't wear jerseys because I follow or support a certain team. It's just
a fashion thing, it is.
It's fashion and it's cool. And as I'm walking through, some man, mate, I did not get the humour at all. He was like, basically, he was saying, you can't wear that here. He was like, you're brave wearing that. And I was like, why I got it? I actually got it from one of the vintage shops there. And he was like, really, wearing that jersey in New York? Man, you must have a death wish.
Was it a Celtics jersey?
No, it wasn't. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
It was a fishnet vest.
That's not offended anyone. But like, he said it. And I was just like, and then I had a look online, and there was like major beef between two teams. One of them was from New York, and I was just like,
that's why.
I've just walked around all day. But if you haven't got that fear.
Equally, I know I've been just as backwards, to be fair, though, because I remember going, and this was only over the pond, not even over the pond, just the channel, really. I went to Ireland, and there was black people in Dublin, and that just, my head just fell off. Yeah. I was just like,
Dublin's quite
diverse.
In
terms of the city centre,
I met a lot of like Brazilians, black people from everywhere.
I just wouldn't have expected it, but again, that's just my kind of mindset of things, I suppose. Obviously, taking it back to the barber, and then, what would you say have been the biggest fashion no-nos in terms of haircuts in the last couple of years then, or old school haircuts, like going back to like the time of the mullet?
It's come back. This is the
this is what I'm saying. What would you say are the ones that you could either see coming back or should never come back?
I think just there's a lot of daft stuff. So like when the resurgence of barbering came back, there's been many over time, but like the one around 2013-14, all the like classic styles had just come back in. Yeah. So they were kind of cool for a while, but I never like conformed and just did them, if that makes sense. But they were just the trend at the time. But I don't, like, you'd have to go and look at a lot of barber pages like now to see how daft the industry's got. Everyone's kind of trying to outdo each other creatively, and you just end up with all kind of fucking
random question then. Can you tell where the lad's from in the UK by their haircuts?
Do you know what? Like, I talk about trends like this, and I think that with the introduction of social media, that you can't tell haircuts anymore from any place, because that includes coffee shops, burger shops, all these places. As soon as, like, Liverpool, let me just use an example, like trends used to take about 20 years to get to Liverpool from London. The introduction of social media, someone can see a interior of a coffee shop and go, yeah, I'm gonna do that
as well. Yeah.
And then things just travel a lot faster now. Same with haircuts, trends, fashion, anything like that. It just travels a lot faster all the way around the world.
100%. And then finally, then in terms of your own channel, where can people kind of find the work that you do online? Where are they able to go and have a look?
So on Instagram, I'm just Nomad Barber. If you go on YouTube, you search for the same thing, you'll find me. That's probably it. I haven't got an OnlyFans yet. Yeah. I thought about starting one just for a laugh, but not putting stuff like, just putting like my own content on there.
You can, like,
that's what it started off as. Apparently, it started off for like musicians
and chefs and stuff like that. Personal trainers,
and then it just turned into like what it is today. I mean, what you do.
I told you not to tell them that.
Yeah, go and plug your OnlyFans.
I don't have an OnlyFans.
It's accounts in the works.
Times aren't that desperate, yeah.
Not yet. Hopefully there's no more lockdowns, and then we can all get back to doing what we actually enjoy doing and what actually pays us to live.
Exactly.
That'd be a huge bonus. But Miguel, thank you for coming down, man,
no problem.
And sharing some of those stories. Definitely look forward to it.
Probably go on forever.
We'll get you back on at some point.
Definitely, yeah. I think we could listen.
You're a well-travelled man. You've got a lot to share.
A lot of
That's the only nice thing I'm ever going to say about you.
Yeah, nice.
It's nice when you've got two good friends that can actually.
Well, do you know how we met?
No.
Actually, yeah.
So like, I moved back to Liverpool, right? And I asked one of my mates if he had any like recommendations for a PT, and like he recommended this lad, and I was like, I checked him out on his Instagram. He was like, he's really good, he's knowledgeable and all this. And then after that I saw Marcel, and I was like, I might try him out instead.
That was actually how
it went down as well. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, again, nice one for coming down anyway. Thank you for sharing some of those stories, and look forward to hearing plenty more in the future. You know what time it is. It's been the group chat, the lads here, Errol and
Marcel,
and we'll be back again for another episode.